Now, in answer to your question as far as what the gentleman gave some great comments here on what a 501c can do in a community association. That 501c opens up a door to a lot of things. You can put programs on there. I don't know how you can open up through your HOA a 501c3, but we do in our HOA what you do. We yearly, without a 501c, we have a back-to-school program, we have a book program, and you have, it's like a fun day for the kids before they go back, so that they all collectively come together. I do apologize for not being able to answer that question. As I say, I was put up here at live, and I was told to share my 501c. That's why, excuse me for cutting you off, that's why it's a process that you do not do on your own, because there are legalities, there are laws that govern, like she's saying, our HOA is a 501c. I'm not sure what it is. It's a 4. A subdivision is a 4. My 501c3 is domestic. So I don't know what category the 501c falls under that. But most of the stuff that she says is correct. After a month or two of trying to accumulate documents and to make sure that there was accuracy, I said, okay, let me take the high road and go find me an attorney. So the only thing that I was to do is to provide you the document, the mission statement, all of the other technicalities they did for a fee. So those technicalities don't mean anything because you can't expedite them. So it is my suggestion, piggybacking off what this guy says, is that we need to come together collectively and go to whoever is governing. There's a governing body over all of your HOAs. The rules, and believe it or not, when you go to an attorney, and we've gone to 2 or 3 of them in our community, and they tell you have no more right, you have no right. But yet I must pay my HOA dues. I must live by these rules that are governed from somewhere else. And as a result of that, today when you guys leave this room, maybe we can talk to Kirill and find out how we could start taking names that HOAs are willing to come together and go to that governing body and ask them, how can we make a change in this area so that the homeowner has rights? That's my take. Let me tell you what I mean when I say we don't have power. We live in Fulton County, we live in a subdivision that's a foreclosed subdivision. So I went in the subdivision as a builder, okay? Others went in as homeowners. Now, we have been taken over by phase 2, which has no properties. And we got taken over because we have in phase 1, 75 units with 3 owned by the HOA, 3 lots owned by the HOA. Well, when you look at, and hear what I'm saying when I say power. If 75 people in that HOA paid all of their homeowners' dues, then we got power. When you neglect to pay those homeowners' dues, and you have other conglomerates that come and buy and invest in your neighborhood, which we have one builder that has 50 lots and another builder that has 62. So down here in phase 1, if you only got 30 paid members, where is your power? Your board is still controlling. Now, we have an HOA butler because we're with a management company. We got a subdivision services that rides around and teaches us, that finds you and cites you for all the wrongs in the neighborhood. I don't have that problem with an HOA. The problem that I have is when you read hours. They don't even have to give us but 1 yearly meeting. 1 yearly meeting. And to me, catastrophe comes more than once a year. And if it's containing to me, I need to know about it. But our board handles it. And when you read the covenant restrictions in the bylaws, it tells you who has power in our community. So I'm not saying that you are wrong. And that's what I mean. Yeah, we can go pull up the finances, but when you go to question them, You have no control. You can pull up the rules and the guidelines, but if they've already been set, they have to change them, not you. Yes, ma'am. We're also facing that. When this subdivision in Fulton County was in foreclosure, the builder pulled out. The homeowners went in and took over what the builder left undone and the city of Atlanta left undone. And when they did that, they created a catastrophe because this gentleman is saying he hitting it on the, I don't care, I mean, I am almost certain that everybody's bylaws are not governed by the same, it's the same principle. But your bylaws for your community and my bylaws for my community are governed within my community, even though they have set standards. Now, let me give you a prime example. When you took and redid those bylaws from their originality from that builder, you created a stream of trouble, and that's why we're in a lawsuit today. Because one board that held a seat for 2 years changed that document and changed one thing in that document, and that one thing was not at Villages Oakshire, Villages of a simple word, which allowed another entity to come in and sue us because they say, okay, this is not correct. And then the other thing, your bylaws say, I mean, covenant restrictions, I would say that we also can see the minutes of the last meeting. We can attend the board meetings. But if the board meetings are not made available to us, we can't do it. So when I say you don't have power, all of these things that everybody has said in here are in position. But at the end of the day, if you do not have the certain vote power, you have no power. One cannot go in my subdivision and say, okay, I want to be able to be paid as a board member. It ain't going to happen. It's not going to happen. One person can't do that. But now, if somebody in here thinks and knows that one person can do it, I warrant you to come on and share it. So because I got a crew here, our board is here. And it's even down to another thing. When it comes to our meetings, we're supposed to, according to the bylaws, it is at the discretion of the president of that board as to whether he gives you 4 quarterly meetings or just gives you an annual. That ain't power to me. Power is just mandated that every quarter I am in charge of knowing what is going on from the police report, from the robbery, to the money that we bring in my reports. But if your president on that board decides differently, that diminishes your power.
Wow, did everybody hear that question? So the question really centers around ensuring that board members are compensated for the work they do for community, because it is a lot of work. And it looks like they are seeking to take advantage of a 501c3 status to pay those board members. Now, if the governing documents state that board members cannot be compensated, guess what? They cannot be compensated, okay? Now, let's say this 501c3 was outside of your formal nonprofit organization, your association. That nonprofit can pay those board members on your behalf as a donation because it's 2 separate entities. So if you go out and obtain the 501c3 as a part of your association, the rules still stay intact. Board members cannot be compensated. Is that clear? And you know what? I've been a board member for almost 3 years, and I'm just going to come out the closet. I am really thinking about, am I coming back? Right? Because it's a thankless job. And so if someone is joining the board just to get something on their resume, don't. Right? There's a lot that comes with it. I've lost friends, next door neighbors, because I went through the United Way VIP board training. And that's the end game that we advise a lot of the people who attend these sessions. United Way VIP board training. We have information on the Georgia HOA Alliance table. When I went through the United Way VIP training, reality set in. And that was like maybe a week or 2 after I got elected onto the board. And let's face it, how do most of us end up taking an interest on the board? Drama, Drama always bring people close to the table, because when I bought into my community, because I used to travel 100% for nearly 20 years. When we had another baby, my wife like, because you going out of town, that's a vacation for you, because you work 9 to 5. Not me, I work all the time. So my intentions were to spend time with my family. Guess what happened when I joined the board? Went right out the window. I can't even go to the pool. I can't go into the clubhouse. I can't go up to the tennis court, the basketball court, because somebody always want to talk about something centered around the HOA. So if it's not something that, if you don't feel that you're being called to service, don't do it. Right, and I'll be honest, we have some, criticize, don't get me started. I've been called all kinds of things. And you know, as a boy, I've learned to become more political. Can you believe that? I'm a grassroots guy. And if you think you dislike politics, don't get on the board. Because you have to govern your behavior, and I can speak to that. And I'm very passionate about following the rules, because that's how we end up suing our builder, because they were not following the rules. I didn't want to go out and sue anybody. I wanted to just have a peaceful life with my family and enjoy my new 6-year-old. And my kids start up in the high 27, 26, 15, and 6. My intentions were to spend time with my family. But I've been involved in several different litigations. I'm being personally sued by my fellow homeowners. So again, you got to think about it. That's why I personally believe that it should be a law that requires all board members to go through training. Because I'm serious, and believe it, we're sitting down talking to GRA, the Georgia Real Estate Association. We're talking to legislators, other commissioners, CAI, which is the Community Association Institute. We're trying to push what they call the Homeowner Bill of Rights. Right? If you go into some of these communities, golf courses are being foreclosed on. Clubhouses are being foreclosed on. Why? Because the homeowners don't even know. They're not even getting any type of notification. And before you know it, it's on the courthouse steps, it's being sold, and you're left with $0 in your bank account. One of the other things is a mandatory set aside for reserves. Today, builders come in, they build your communities out. They don't perform the maintenance on your retention ponds. But then when it's time to transition, guess what they do? They transition, you leave, they leave, and then communities are filing bankruptcy to address those retention ponds. So this is why I have changed my position. Before, nearly 3 years ago, I couldn't stand an HOA. I wanted to be one of the Dukes of Hazzards. I wanted to be on the farm. I didn't want to be subject to the rules and the personalities of these individuals. Once I got involved, when I get involved, I get into the weeds. That's why this document that we've generated is the brainchild. For a living, I deal with RFPs. And we didn't like our management company. We didn't understand how they were spending their money, our money. We didn't understand the value of a management company to our community. Now, don't get me wrong, I have learned that there is a value, but it needs to be managed by an informed team of people who represent your association. So when I dived in, I identified all of the services that are offered by an association to its members. I took it a little bit further. I dived into each individual bullet point of that high-level service that's offered to the community. And then I took that and created a request for a proposal. We took that request for proposal, which is an RFP, sent it out to, I think it was 75 to 100 management companies. Guess how many responded? 5. Went through the interview process. We got down to 2. Finally, we identified 1, where we learned an important lesson. We should have took a look at the contract right up front, because there was some language in the contract that didn't settle too well with me, which is you are totally indemnified of any wrongdoing, even if it's done on purpose. Go back and look at your contract with your management company. I said, look, we got to pull that out. Oh, you got to turn your bank account over and put it on there and say, hold up, my mama didn't raise no fool. I'm not putting no bank account in the management company name. It will remain in our name, and we will give you permission on that account. That was a deal breaker. Hence, we are self-managed, and we have been self-managed since I've been on the board. We'll talk about that. That's where the computer technology comes in at. Does that help everybody see why this is one of the reasons that HOA Alliance is here? We need to start sharing information across communities. The builders have a collaboration. The management companies have a collaboration. All of the vendors that provide services to our community have collaborations. Guess who don't? Well, before today. So that's one of the reasons why I think it's really important for us to share this information with you all. And we're growing, so we're going through some growing pains. Now, moving into next year, we're going to have a marketing department. We're going to get out and start securing funds because we want you all to be educated. Because if you're educated, then your quality of life will be there. Right now, no. And I like the tales from the trenches approach. We end up in a lawsuit with a homeowner. We never want to be in litigation with a fellow homeowner. It's the last thing you want to ever do. That's your last choice. Always try to work it out. One of the communities in unincorporated South Fulton now is in bankruptcy because of all of the infighting, all of the litigation. They are also in bankruptcy because they failed to read the governing documents, meaning the board. You had a board member that signed a 5-year contract. And in that contract, it states if the board cancels that contract, that the company will get the remaining years of the money. Well, if that board member would have read that contract, it states, and this is consistent, that every year you have to renew the contract with your partners or your vendors. They end up in litigation on that. Then they were suing each other. Then they were suing the board members, hence bankruptcy. So ignorance is really killing us. Now, why do you care? Correll, I don't care about that neighborhood. I can move. Well, what if your dues are increased because of all of that conflict, like those legal fees? Generally, in order to recover those legal fees that a board spends, there's a special assessment. You know why? Because every member of that community is a stakeholder in the community association, hence HOA, POA, condo association. You share the costs. I don't want anyone eating into my discretionary income. I have a wife, I have 2 girls. I can start right there. The boys ain't as expensive. So these are the things that we need to be aware of. So why are we here today? Well, as during the day, like Batman, I am a solution architect. And one of the things that I do is I go out and I analyze and I evaluate and then I dream of solutions. Okay, yes ma'am, go ahead. Okay, I'll elaborate. Okay, are you an unincorporated South Fulton? Okay, I know which one you're talking about. Okay, so you know. So, and ignorance, right? Ignorance, in my opinion, is not an excuse. Before I elaborate on that, that's why I think it is in the best interest of all community members that board members are required to go to training and have continuing education, because their decisions have long-reaching effects. So if you see that happen in your community, you want to sell your home, well, your dues have been increased, maybe double. It makes it difficult for you to sell your home. So in that regard with that contract, that was a bad decision, but your board members represent your community. Most people don't realize your community is a business. Everybody hear me, right? It is not your clubhouse. It is a business and should be ran as such. So if you have an ignorant board member, and it's not that I'm trying to, speak ill of anybody, because we enable that behavior because it was a popularity vote from the start. If you allow them to make those bad decisions, you're left holding the bag. You have to take care of your part of those expenses. So again, when I said I dived into the weeds, I went deep. I took my wife with me too. I went deep. And I have to tell this story. So before I ran for the board, I wanted to move because there was too much animosity in the meetings. My wife didn't want to move. It took me, my wife had a home for about 17, 18 years. Man, did I have to do some begging to get her to move? And then to turn around and say, let's move 3 years later, she wasn't hearing it. So I asked, if you allow me to run for the board, we'll stay. Cool, got on the board. She's been involved with it as much as I have. Now I said, well, I don't know if I'm going to stay on the board. She said, if you don't stay on that board, we're moving. So the moral of this story, right, is those life experiences. And it's really difficult to escape a community association because now they're more prevalent, they're growing. You're not getting away from them. So software, how are we here? So remember diving into the weed, it wasn't just me. We had a team of folks and we started looking into the financials. That's where it first started. We wanted to understand how the monies were being allocated, how they were being spent. I think the worst case was at the end of every year, they would zero out our account. And we never knew where the money went. But they were on this other end saying that we were accruing a balance of debt to the declarant.
I'm sorry, where's the line you're speaking from? The old order?
All right, I'm just going to be honest. Because this is honest. So John Whelan is our builder. We live in a John Whelan on a John Whelan property. They hired a management company called NMA, Neighborhood Management Association, state away, far away. I have to tell you why. So remember, the declarant is generally the ones that own, that have established a community. The declarant and the developer can be two separate entities. I want you to know, and the builder, they all can be separate entities. So the declarant is key here. So the declarant appoint board members. Generally, they appoint 3 board members that represent their entire business and it represents all of their communities. Well, when we started asking about our budget, they started bringing the budget during the annual meeting. Question number 1, why am I getting the budget at the meeting? I had a problem with that. That was me, and there was a number of other neighbors. But I kept quiet and I listened. That was year 1. Year 2, guess what they did again? No communication, but I always got my bill. I always got my bill, same thing. So finally I posed it, but I was on a committee this time, and they put that I spent $800 on my committee when I spent $0. They should have never done that. Now they've opened up a can of worms, and I wanted to know more. So the way they were getting folks is that people didn't know how to properly request the records. The open records request is your best friend. In fact, I might put an example in the book now. Because it has to be properly formed. And I requested all of the financial statements. Oh, we'll make it available to you. You just got to come up to the office between the hours of 9 to 5. And then we'll bill you for the printings. Oh, I work during the day, but here's a mistake. I work from home. I went up to that office and I took my own printer. I ain't paying no dollars per page. And I printed out and scanned and did all those things. I just captured. I didn't look at nothing and went back home, and we got a team of folks and we started looking through the records, and we found all sorts of discrepancies. In fact, it eventually led to 2 warrants being issued for 2 people on an advisory committee. See, you got to be strategic. Don't go and yell and start screaming over one piece of paper. You got to dig into the details. Lo and behold, again, we've been dealing with a lot of litigation. But once we identified that they were negligent in their duties, because they didn't keep an eye on the petty cash fund, that's where a lot of bleeding was happening. Then, when we looked at their contracts, we saw that they had a clause in there that stated they have a right to make a profit. Well, remember, the management company is the center of your world. You need something done at your community, you go to the management company, they farm it out. You may be getting charged $1,500 by the vendor, but by the time it goes through your management company, they've marked it up 100%. So you're paying $3,000. As community members, and I'm from a working community, we have to find some time to keep an eye on the management company, our board members, and don't keep an eye on the board members as if they are taking something. Get involved and work with them. Hey, can I be on your finance committee? We had created a finance committee. One was for evaluating and keeping oversight. The other was to pay the bills. Another disappointing thing that we learned too is that they were paying our bills with bill pay. And it was only 10 checks a month. How much does bill pay cost you? Now you see why they want control of the bank account. So all I'm saying is that we just have to pay attention to the details. And this is how we got into software. So when we dived into those numbers, and I don't know what happened, did I turn it up? Is it echoing or is it me? What about there? Oh. So this is how we got into community software. We use QuickBooks, by the way, to manage all of our financial aspects of our community. Why? Well, there are requirements for reporting that goes out to its members, right? There's the balance sheet, there's the balance sheet, income statement, and I'm drawing a blank on the one that keeps a transaction of everything. Yeah, but we give a general ledger. So the general ledger, did you know that every time money goes in, or the transactions are captured by QuickBooks, they automatically generate the reports? And we pay nearly $3,000 a month for a management company to write 10 checks and provide us with reports, and they provide it when they wanted to. We did a better job there's an app for that. Now, don't get me wrong, a management company has some value. Yes, sir.
I don't know if all QuickBooks have been changed, but earlier QuickBooks could be revised without any indication in the accounting that it had been changed.
We use QuickBooks Online, and then when you log in, we know. When a transaction is recorded, we know. You delete anything, we know. That's one of the requirements, reporting. That's what you're looking for, right? And that's another way of keeping individuals honest, because you got to watch those you trust, right? Except for your spouse. You don't watch your spouse. That's illegal. But you got to watch the people you trust. Okay. Did I answer all your questions, sir? I answered your question?
Yeah.
Okay. Yes, ma'am.
Our situation is we have to take, in order to inspect the books, we have to take a board member to do that. Why?
Well, because you are, that's a good question. So the question is, whenever they want to see the books, they got to take a board member with them. Have you read your governing documents? Well, that's the governing documents. Now, what I would do, because I'll be honest with you, I've never seen a governing document that tells me or a member that they are required to be accompanied by a board member. If I were you, I would go out and look at the plat for your community and make sure you find the original or the original governing documents, like your declaration, the bylaws, articles of incorporation, any amendments, because that may be something somebody just put together and they just put it before you guys. I've looked through, but have you went to the county and see what's being recorded to your plat? Because we found in a lot of use cases, you were operating under governing documents that were not even your governing documents. They were not recorded to your plat. So that's, you need to go take, I've never seen that before. I'm suspicious. I want to make sure you get my number because I want to. Yep. Clerks, yes, the clerk's office, and you can ask for all of the governing documents that are recorded to your plaque and amendments. It's at a cost and it's not expensive. I will have them printed out and take a look at those and guard them. Because I've found that a number of communities have been manipulated because they've been given governing documents that are not your governing documents. Oh, yeah.
So you have the plaque number or whatever, so,
Well, you can give them your address.
okay.
Give them your address. And the question was, do I have to have my plaque number? Give them your address. Okay, I think I had another question. Yes, sir. We were paying about $50 a month for about 4 people to have access to it. Now we're a 501c3, so I know it's decreased. The cost has decreased for us. I'm telling you that reporting is very important. That's just one. Let me just pose a question before I answer other questions. How many have a smartphone? Well, they seem smart. They know when to shut down. Anytime you need to do something, like you want to check your bank account, there's an app for that. If you want to listen to music, there's an app for that. There are several apps for that. All I'm saying is that if you take a look at organizations today, they're talking about putting certain workloads in the cloud. You hear cloud, cloud, cloud. It's more cost effective. The strategy is there. Why can't an HOA do the same thing? What we're doing right now is working with partners like eUnify, and we're implementing HOA as a service, which is leveraging different softwares for different functionalities that's housed in the cloud, and there's an app for that, whether I'm using a browser or it's an app on my phone. Like the community that I talked about is using Buildium. Buildium brings a financial package plus all of the other functionalities together. We don't do that. We use eUnify because it integrates with QuickBooks. So people can pay through their portal. From our portal that we have through eUnify, they pay their dues, and we provide other avenues for them to pay their dues. What we like about it is that the resident don't have to contact us to take a look at a running balance. They log into the portal and they can see, oh, this is what I paid for my dues. Oh, here are all of my violations. Oh yeah, we want you to see your violations. Right, what we do for now, the biggest area that most management companies make their money is sending out mailing. We pay 25 cents on the dollar. Letter stream, anybody ever heard of it? Letter stream, all we do is we send out our own letters. We hire a company to come out and do our inspections. They use a phone app, there's an app for that, called HOA Management. They take the picture, they can record an audio, they can type some notes. We track that company to prove that that company was at your property at that specific date and time, right? Because there are some issues with that. But we capture that information, it comes into our system, and then we have it send out the first letter automatically through that process. There's an app for that. So we went from a base of $1,050 as our charge. By the end of that month, we always paying them about $3,000. When we started making those changes, we saved $100,000 in 6 months that we put in a reserve fund. We are way ahead of our reserve study. Not only did we take care of cost-cutting aspects like those legal fees, the firm that we were working with, I can't even give their name, we would go after trying to collect $500. Before you know, we're spending $1,500 to $2,000. What did I say about an HOA? It is a business. Why don't we just pay their bill if we're going to spend that much money to go out and collect it? So what we did when we took on that board and we started seeing those bleeding points, we cut it off. To this day, they may have gotten about $300 out of us in 3 years. Because we do our own collection. You know why? Because we believe in a more of a neighborly approach. We went from a 40% collection rate to now we're over 90-something% collecting. Because there's nothing like working out a payment plan with your neighbors. You don't try to stab your neighbors in the neck because they ain't paid you, what, I think our dues is $850 a year. We've discounted it so many times because we're working to try to bring it down. Right? Of course, we want to be able to cover our bills, be able to put some money in the reserves. We even replace every home mailbox in our community, and we're not required to because we do our due diligence. Did you know that your mailbox can shave off $10,000 to $20,000 of property value from your home when you try to sell it? We don't pay attention to those types of things. Software help us realize those type of things. So I'll give you another example. I'm giving you all the keys to the kingdom. So, so from a community perspective, anything happening in our community, we were calling the management company. I should have brought my slide deck. What we decided to do was take the management company, move it out of the center of our world and put it on the side of all of the rest of the partners, landscaping, everybody. And if somebody we don't have, guess what we use? You ever heard of home advisors? We use home advisors. We require 3 quotes. They send us 3 quotes. Well, what's the value? They're already vetted. They have insurance. They've already had the background checks. We cut out the middleman because the middleman has a right to make a profit. So say, for example, we had an electrical issue we needed repaired. If we didn't have an electrician in our database, why not go through Home Advisor? Oh, and we don't have to pay them for that. The vendors are paying them for access to us. That's what I mean by diving into the weeds. So when people say, hey, being on the board takes a lot of time, it takes some sacrifice, but if you plan on staying in that community, I think the sacrifice is worth it. So take a closer look at those books. What we told the attorney firm, cease and desist. Don't do anything else. Everything has to go through us. And scrutinize everything. Make the vendors your partners. We have been with the same landscape company, and I got to give this as an example, since I've been on the board. I don't remember the name right off the top of my head, but I give it to you. See, I'm trying to stay out of the weeds because, you know, usually board members are policy making. They don't supposed to be in operations. That's why they outsource it to a management company, or you can go and get you something like an executive director. We changed those rules. We went from requiring 20 people to run our property, and it's very big. We have 231 homes down to 3 people. Why? Because we outsource everything. Oh, I'm not cutting no grass. I don't even cut my own grass. We're going to go hire a landscape company. Oh, there's a plumbing issue. Hire a plumber. Establish a relationship. Foster that relationship. We have good relationships with our partners. And that's really what it takes. Yes, sir.
I understand there's services that can be used for putting out newsletters and the like. What experience do you have with that? What experience do you have?
Oh, awesome. There's an app for that. So we use MailChimp. MailChimp.com. Now, don't get me wrong, M-A-I-L, chimp. Don't get me wrong, you don't have the time. So you need to go out and hire the specialists, right? And what I mean by hiring the specialists, you do need the management company, but you need to know what you're buying. And you want a great relationship with the management company. I don't care if you, you have a dining budget. You need that great relationship, and you want them to come and interact with your community. Everybody has some value, but it has to be managed. So just to give you an example of what, I've included here, I've already spoken about the RFP, and this is not binded because it's my copy, but. So remember I talked about generating that RFP? It's advantageous for you to at least have a copy of this and just look through it so that you can educate yourself. But not only did we do an RFP for you to go out and start vetting these companies, we also created what we call it MEC, the Management Evaluation Committee, right? So I provided you with side-by-side ways to compare management companies across their different services. Let me look up some of those services. I just wanted to be in the know. I can't stand to be ignorant spending somebody else's money. N-
Do you have a handout?
So so for you, if you go ahead and sign up with a membership of $50, you'll get this for free. No, we're getting you all to come on as members. And this is 3 years of work. We did give them away last year, and we gave them away at other events, but now we have to use funding to push legislation and to do these events. Otherwise, I have to pay out of my pocket, and then you're trying to get me a divorce.
Do you have that software or is that smartphone?
Yeah, I can get you soft copy. I don't have a problem with that. You know, and to me, it's advantageous to buy it for your community. You know, not as an individual, but sometimes you're not, your community is not outgoing. One of our taglines is avoid managing your community in isolation. That's why we all, you know, a vendor can come in and treat one community bad, go right across the street and get some business. We're in the process of stopping that. I'm sorry, I'm just looking for my high level stuff in front and back. Proposal evaluation criteria. I spelled it out. It was really for me, but now I'm just sharing it out. I think it offers a significant amount of value. And by the way, you know, when you look at the cost of us producing, we're not making the money. We're just trying to do things that would be advantageous for you all. And I think you heard Commissioner Arrington talk about it this morning. We've grown. We're in Henry County. We're in DeKalb. We're in Cobb. The goal is to grow by counties. So think about it this way. If the counties, we have 159, can have a collaboration called ACCG, Association of County Commissioners of Georgia, and they can go lobby. How many communities do you think we can have under our umbrella? We would be more powerful than the union. Anybody? Well, I don't want to be that powerful where, you know, people be gunning. I'm just saying we would have a voice. I'm looking for the voice with these legislators. Sorry, I'll look this up in a minute. I think I had another question. No? So from a software perspective, you can look at, I'm sorry, yes ma'am. I'm sorry, request for a proposal. When a company wants to solicit bids, they put out an RFP. That means that they've identified all of their requirements and they are requesting that these companies respond to those requirements so that you can properly evaluate them. I didn't just put an RFP in here. I gave you an evaluation packet. I also provided you with all of the information on the different services that an association offers to its members that they generally outsource, like legal services. Has anybody ever tried to figure out why we going through the management company for legal services? They're going to just do this. They're going to outsource it. But remember that contract clause? We have a right to make a profit. So why don't you establish and maintain a direct relationship with an attorney firm? Oh, we need to get our books audited. We need to file our taxes. Oh, I'll call the management company. Well, the management company don't specialize in that stuff. They're going to call Company X. Company X is going to give them a quote, and then they're going to give you a quote. And it may be marked up 100%, 200%. I've seen some marked up as high as 300%. So just think about those things. The technology that we're using today is called the letter E, Unify.net. We've worked out a relationship with eUnify to offer those services to the communities that are members of Georgia HOA Alliance. Why? Economies of scale. We don't want you to pay regular price. We want to bring the cost down. The more communities we bring on board, guess what? Cheaper it becomes. I'm looking forward to more investment in our reserves so that our communities are not just feasible, meaning we can pay the bills, but it's sustainable. Because now we're investing in the reserve account. I want to get to the point where we can put money in an investment account. Yes, sir.
There was another app that you mentioned that you used in conjunction with Unify, Letter or something?
Letterstream. Letterstream.com. We're working out a relationship with them too. It's getting out of the paper business. So like writing a letter, and then stream, downloading music or playing music, STREAM.com. Yes, sir. Yes, or you can just go to GeorgiaHOAalliance.org, and you'll see e-Unify on there too. Oh, it's Georgia HOA Alliance.org. I'm sorry, I'm from Georgia, so there's a certain drawl on my. Yes, sir. I think you had a question.
Yeah, I want to talk about QuickBooks for a moment.
Mm-hmm.
We use QuickBooks Pro. I mean, I've used QuickBooks for years.
Okay.
QuickBooks.
So you online now?
Well, we're not online because we stopped using it 2 years ago.
Mhm.
About 4 or 5 years. But right now, as an association, we're not online. Is there an advantage for us to move online as opposed to keep it on our home?
Oh, without a doubt. QuickBooks Online has, the question is there an advantage to moving to more of a cloud-based solution? That's what QuickBooks Online is, versus having it installed on your computer. You want more than just 1 or 2 people having access. You know, and so that's always, for us, let me step back before I answer that. What I learned going through a trial about a month ago is that as board members, you can always delegate responsibility, but you can never delegate accountability. During that trial, this family sued us because this woman didn't want to turn over the email account. Yahoo free email account. Career, why are you all even interested in it? Just go create another one. The Georgia Nonprofit Code says that a nonprofit shall keep 3 years of communications with any of its members. That's the law. Again, I went through that VIP training. It opened my eyes. So we asked again. So they decided to sue us. We didn't ask for attorney fees. All we wanted for this individual to be found in breach of fiduciary duty. Because as board members or even committee volunteers, you have a fiduciary duty to your community, and you have a contractual obligation to your community.